No. For week 1, maybe.
Oh, no. Come on.
Well,
What?
hold on. So
Come
this
on
is
now.
what this is, just give me a second here,
Sure.
KW, because I'm really just talking to you.
This is a nutty take,
Because-
but I love it.
Because this is the exact type of take if they were playing anyone but your beloved Eagles, you would like them more in this game now.
The nothing to lose game.
The nobody believes in us.
Not bad.
Nothing to lose.
It is a bad.
Does the other team all of a sudden be
I was a little bit nervous
like
about that.
I
they
knew
don't.
it.
A little bit like, Micah?
Hold
on.
Like, we're good.
See,
A little bit of that did cross
This
my
is
mind.
a division game, and they're not taking the Cowboys lightly.
I get all that, but it's the pomp
The
and
banner.
circumstances of the band. I knew it.
I don't
So
love it.
I'm just telling you that I knew he would feel that way. I was
Don't
just trying
let
to
him
get
pull
him.
you
We're
in
good
there,
here.
Rob.
Chiefs next week.
Exactly right. The look ahead,
That
all of
did
it.
cross my mind.
I knew that
Greg
was going to be
knows
the
it.
case.
No.
Well, and by the way, the line moved a half point on the Micah trade.
Yeah.
It went from 7 to 7.5. Now maybe that in part is
so
because
high.
they
He
wasn't gonna
also
play anyway.
they thought he maybe might not be playing or would be limited. Listen, I think they could be quite prolific on offense, but I thought they were going to have struggles defensively before this trade. And even though I really do like and have liked for a while Kenny Clark, it's Jerry kind of overstated the impact that a
You think?
30-year-old D tackle is going to make
Coming
in
off
the
his
instant.
worst season.
So I mean, yeah, I think that this is a reset year for Dallas, but I thought, and I think the table thought, it was going to be a reset year with Micah Parsons. Not a reset year, but they were going to be mid
look,
with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I don't think they had reason to be optimistic before, but at least, and none of us, I don't think, picked them for the playoffs, but they were like playoff adjacent. Like it was like, yeah, you know what? If Washington, sophomore slump for Jaden, Cowboys will win 9 games, maybe they win a couple more, they could make it. Now, I have no thought whatsoever that they can make the playoffs. I actually think the big question is, will they or can they stave off the Giants for third place in the division? That really is it. And the formula they have to follow, I agree, they should be good offensively.
It's what Greg said.
It's like the Bengals formula, but the problem is Dak isn't Joe Burrow. And CD's great. He's not Jamar Chase. So I just don't think their offense is
think
as
CD
good.
Jamar Chase is close-ish.
Dak
but
can
No,
air it out.
he's in the same class, but he's
Pickens
not
isn't
Jamar.
Higgins either.
Correct.
So,
And Dak's not in the same. I don't think he's in the same class as Burrow.
no, I agree. Go ahead, Greg.
Obviously.
Sorry,
What did we
Dallas.
say?
Nothing.
Oh, my God.
Nothing. Nothing. Like, I've already spoken to their offense and what I feel like their offense can do. That still holds true. Like, I still believe offensively they can still be exciting. But as far as when you as a fan start to look outside of your house and you start peeking across the street and seeing what the Commanders got over there and what the Eagles are, you know what the Eagles got. And then you kind of touched on it. Then you start thinking about, man, I used to have a better house and backyard setup than the Giants. Now I'm questioning, do I even have that? I kind of like what the Giants are doing. This is the worst possible situation. Even if none of us felt like they were a playoff team with Micah Parsons, you still feel like they got a chance.
Yeah.
They could be sneaky good because you have superstar players on both sides of the field. That just feels like it gives you a chance. Now you look at that defense and you're like, Matt Eberflus has to be.
You feel sick for him, man.
Matt Eberflus has to be like, really? This is what I got. It is no disrespect to any of those other guys.
Yeah. There's a few ways to look at this. The way how I look at it, honestly. Before this all happened, I said that I think that the Cowboys can actually be a bit better than what other people were kind of predicting them to be. Like, people were saying that they're like really going to be in rough shape. And I said, listen, I think that offense, I think just alone with CD, Pickens and Dak, like that alone should be pretty threatening in a way. And again, you have Micah and whatnot, and I do believe in Eberflus as a defensive coach, and I'm just like, listen, I actually think that they could win a lot more games than people are saying. I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders or will be realistically competing to win the division, but I could still see them still being, they're as much of a disastrously as disastrously as they are run, in a weird way, they're still pretty consistent. And they're not like the Panthers or the Jags or the Texans were before CJ and whatnot. So it's just like, okay, so you could see that, but I just said that my whole logic was that I don't believe that they're resilient. That with Schottenheimer, there's no real leader. People don't really look to Dak in that locker room to like actually be the leader. If anything, that was Micah. And now and CeeDee Lamb's just not that guy either. I mean, I love CeeDee Lamb for the record, but he's just not that personality in the locker room, and Pickens certainly isn't. And so I just felt that if they come through adversity and if things get a little wonky throughout the season, it'll be really easy for this team just to kind of implode and not really be able to do much. This team is gutted that Micah got traded. Gutted. Don't get me wrong, they're gonna try to dig deep and say we can still win, we can still do this, because they're still players, they're still competitors, they still want to win, but they are absolutely gutted and dumbfounded that this happened. You can just see the reactions that they had. They're just like, how is Micah not here? They know how much of a monster Micah is, and they know now Micah's gone. So no, they don't have the same level of intensity and encouragement that they had going into the season than prior. They are gutted. They are absolutely gutted. There's no way around that. They're still going to try their best. They're still going to play all that. But I just promise you, man, they do not have the same level of belief they did. And they're probably really angry at Jerry Jones. When Jerry Jones comes in there and he's like, come on, guys, let's have a conversation. And he like addresses the team. I just want you to know that the guys in this locker room, I really believe in y'all. And they're all just thinking to themselves, I think you're the dumbest person I've ever met in my entire life. They're like, man, I didn't really have much respect for you before, Jerry, but I have zero respect for you now. I don't care about I'm not even paying attention to anything you're saying. You're talking here. I'm either trying to catch those sound bites just to be able to make fun of you to my girl, to my kids, my boys, whatever, or I'm just not paying attention at all. And I'm thinking about like, what do I got to do? Oh yeah, I want to come. Maybe I'll go out to dinner with Melissa and like, oh, you know what? My kid was asking me the other day to check out a baseball game. I should probably try to do that before the season starts. Like, you're just not even paying attention. You're just like, I just don't have any desire to listen to what that man says. And the problem is that man has all the power. So it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. And who believes now in that team who's fighting for a contract or trying to build something? Who believes in that? And when Schottenheimer's like, come on, this is the Dallas Cowboys. We're here to build something. We're here to be great. We're here. You got to dig deep. You got to put in the work. Like, who buys into that message? Who buys into that message? No one. And I'm sorry, again, and I appreciate who Dak is. I really do. And I love what Dak represents and how he is for the Dallas Cowboys. But he is not the leader of the team. He does not rally the troops. He just doesn't. He just absolutely does not. And there's just no question in my mind about that. And now you're just like, what do you do here? What do you do with this team? The good news is that despite Jerry's many issues, he actually does draft pretty well. And he actually does build pretty legitimate teams. He might not be great at tying it all together with either a coaching staff or making those extra couple moves to really push you over. And he lingers on players for probably a little too long, ironically, as he moves on from Micah. But it's not like this team is going to be just a disaster and awful for years to come. But I don't see how I just don't see how it's possible for them to ever be Super Bowl contenders with Dak Prescott now during this time. Because it's going to take a few years to recover from trading Micah. And if you even hit grand slams on both draft picks, 1 year he's going to be a rookie and the 1 year you don't even have the pick. And then the next year you have another rookie. Now the other guy's second year. Like, it's going to take a few years to get this together. And now Dak's like literally a year or two away from retiring. It's just like he's just at the end of his career. And then it's like now you got to get another quarterback. And now CeeDee Lamb's on his way out because he's aging. And so like I talked about this when this move first went down, that the timelines are not matching here. And if you were going to do a reset, then you should have just moved on from everyone at this point. Like, you could have just sold the farm and would have been flushed with cash and draft capital. And then you would have said, hey, Jerry, you are a mess, but like you are pretty good at drafting. Here's all the draft picks now. You now have years to like actually really build a team. You could even be patient and to try to find your quarterback in the draft. And then you would be in a situation where like you're drafting a quarterback next year, this next coming draft. And again, you're flushed with other draft capital that if you moved on from CD and Dak and what, and Dak even, like you would have been in this interesting situation now where you would have essentially been building, like in a way it could have been the Green Bay Packers right now where you're building the youngest team and they're slowly getting, older and older, more mature, as long as you tie it together with the right coaching staff and then maybe like a free agent or a trade like a Micah Parsons, you bring him in and boom, now you're back to being a top team in the NFL. And the Cowboys are just like, no, let's just kind of do like half and half. Let's pay Dak a ton of money. Let's pay CD a ton of money. But like, let's not really make our defense all that great. Let's kick this can down the road. Like it just doesn't really make sense. And Micah was young enough where you could have gone through like a year or two where they're just not as great as you would want them to be. And now when you finally do get things going in the right direction, Micah's still young enough where he's still going to be in the heart of his prime and still be a huge, piece of a potential Super Bowl puzzle. But it's just like now, like I said, you've created so many different timelines that are incompatible with one another. That's just the way I see it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, these are half measures right now, and it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Dak Prescott is 32 years old. I mean, he's an old 32 because he's been banged up a lot now. I mean, he's been banged up a lot. So I just and it's interesting because Nick said, "Oh, by making this move, the Packers are really betting on Jordan Love. That they're betting on that they believe in Jordan Love." So what does it say if you move on from Micah Parsons? I mean, seriously, if you believed in Schottenheimer as an offensive head coach, you believe in Dak, you believe that you have a top 1-2 punch in with wide receivers, you're rebuilding that O-line. You hire Eberflus, who again I think is a really really good, even great defensive coach. We'll have to see him as the coordinator now rather than head coach. But that defense fell off a cliff as soon as Eberflus got fired with Chicago Bears, and I think he did a great job in Chicago defensively, offensively, and as a head coach he didn't do a good job, but defensively he did. And you had some pieces there on defensively, obviously with Micah and company. You're telling me that you couldn't have then contended over these next couple of years? Then what were you doing? And I got news for you. A lot of people, like this whole segment, they were like, a lot of people don't really believe in the Cowboys and we're maybe playoff adjacent. That's mainly because of who they hired as their head coach. Better believe if they had a top prospective coach, like whether it be an existing one, like a I don't want to go too high, like an Andy Reid, because that's obviously Andy Reid, but like a Matt LaFleur or a Kevin O'Connell. But then even like now one of the coordinators who were looking to be hired, like obviously Ben Johnson, I feel as though people would give them so much more room because they would be like, oh, Ben Johnson with Dak and CD and Pickett, right? Like there would be a lot more momentum there in terms of belief. So and then again, even if you're not quite there, well then you're just another offseason away of rounding out the roster. You're just another offseason away of solidifying this roster. And then by year 2 with your new head coach who in this example you legitimately believe in, you're like, all right, let's get after it. Let's go. But now you're potentially in a position where you're going to have to hire a new coach, be in this weird time. Like the hardest time with the quarterback is when you're like 34, 35, you're like, we got to move on, but we think he's good enough, but not bad. Like you're in this like weird, like, it's like the Russell Wilson. It's like, yeah, he's not quite what he was, but he's not a complete disaster either. You're like Kirk Cousins, like Matthew Stafford. You're just like, what do you do? Now you're in that window with Dak. And you either rip the Band-Aid off and say, well, all right, we're done. We're drafting another quarterback and moving on, or not. And then, like I said, you're going to have to find most likely another head coach. And, like, it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. And I would have felt so much more optimistic if the Cowboys were just like, nope, we are unloading everyone. Like, why make a move for Pickens? Like, why do some of the things that you did? Why pay Dak all this money? Like, what's the point of paying Dak top quarterback dollar when you're doing something like this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Unless you're still just trying to be like entertaining enough where there's still attention around you and you'll be making money off that. But like, I don't know, man. Feels like the Dallas Cowboys just have to like I said, just not be the Carolina Panthers and they'll still be talked about and you'll still be making money off them. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, ask yourself this question. Would you feel better about the future if they moved on from Dak and CD and Micah and now they were flushed with like a ton of cash and like, I don't know, man, quick math, 7 first-round picks to like kind of work. I mean, like, seriously, you know that they'll be drafting a quarterback next year in this coming draft, which is supposed to be like one of the deepest quarterback drafts that we've had in a while. Or you would be sitting this year with where you would have maybe drafted this again because you would have moved on from Dak before then. So then you would have could have maybe gotten like a Jackson Dart or a Cam Ward. Like there's, that possibility there, or even Shedeur Sanders for some of the Dallas Cowboys fans that believe in Shedeur, right? Like, and again, like I said, you'd now be able to be drafting, you'd be able to fortify that O-line. You'd be able to, double down on that defense. Like, you'd have a lot of youth on defense as well, but now have your veteran leader in Micah Parsons. You'd be integrating a young quarterback. Like you would actually be rebuilding. Like, to me, I would have way more optimistic, even if it was kind of darker over the, last year and then kind of this coming year. But you would at least kind of feel that like, all right. And you would have been able to maximize the returns. Like, you would have probably gotten even more for Micah, and you would have gotten a ton for CD Lamb. And, I don't know if you would have necessarily been able to work out some sort of trade with Dak, or if it would, because I know he's got the no trade clause, but, you could still just be like, listen, man, we're just not going to play you. So either waive your no trade clause and we'll trade you to a team, or like, you're just not playing. Like, there's still ways to kind of navigate that a little bit. But either way, you would have still not had to have been on the hook for all that money that you're paying him. Like, there's ways around it, but I just feel like anything but what they did, I just personally don't see the timelines. I think that's really what I'm trying to emphasize more than anything. I just don't see how the timeline unfolds what you have right now with CD, Dak, and company. Just like, how are you building a true Super Bowl contender right now? And if it's not today or tomorrow, then it's year 3, 4. Like I said, you're now up there in age with your quarterback. You're up there in age, and you might already now be on another head coach. And it's just like, what do you do with this? But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys? Do you think Dallas fans should have any hope this season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.